Welcome to the series Art and Flatnixing, Masterclass number 17, dedicated to the work of the artist Tamara Van San. Here we see a work in Chinese porcelain with a Chinese atmospheric background. Tamara Van San succeeds in making things that are almost nothing, while being at the same time reflections on sculpting, on working with ceramics. As I said earlier, most people who make ceramics or sculptures make figurative shapes, very often deformed, or they make geometrical ones, but very rarely do they succeed in making new shapes that are the result of the thinking with the material or the technique in itself, as we can see, for example, here. How do you make a sculpture out of a very, very thin layer of porcelain? How do you make it 3D? How can you think in space with a thin leaf of clay, knowing that you can't reinforce the sculpture, knowing that it will collapse in the oven if it's not strong enough? One of the ways Van San succeeds in creating depth is by using different colors at the same time when sculpting. Very often, two colors that come from the left or the right and add an extra depth to the sculpture. And here we can see a sculpture with 3 feet, built as high as possible, with the aspect of a Chinese waterfall, reminding us of the gongshi we have spoken earlier about, the Chinese scholar stones. And we see in these works an attempt to build towering sculptures despite the fact that this is nearly impossible if you don't want to make an ashtray and make it taller. In this case, the artist succeeded in doing so by creating very thin shells of clay, making them thinner by pushing on them with her fingers, and sometimes also perforating them, so here and there we can see traces of her fingers having pushed through the thin layer of clay. Here we find another gongshi or scholar stone with a totally different technique, consisting of piling up cotton balls soaked in porcelain. The cotton balls burn and leave a very, very thin skin of porcelain. As you can see, the sculpture, this is a Chinese stone, by the way. This is a ceramic sculpture starting from a tube, which is rather traditional, starting from a tube, but nobody does this with the tube. another tower with 3 feet. A beautiful porcelain scholar stone with a green hue and some yellow and orange. Another tube work, and as you can see, Van San succeeds in making sculptures that really move when you turn around them, that really show themselves differently in space, which is something which is rather difficult to achieve and is rarely achieved. This sculpture shows a kind of leaf-shaped objects that remind us of walking insects on a background of green and purple.